Okay, so Liam Livingstone, welcome to the Guernsey Cricket Podcast. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
How's isolation at the moment?
It's actually been all right. I've got quite a nice view. I've got a view of the beach and the sea. I've got a water bike on my balcony. I've got my gaming case set up. So I've got COD and I've got Sky Go as well. So it's pretty much it's actually been really nice to have a bit of a chill. I've had a pretty full on 3 months. So to be perfectly honest, the 6 days has flown by. I'm out tonight at midnight. So yeah, it's actually been quite cool to just chill out, relax, try and get a few watt bike sessions in, and yeah, I've tried to eat some decent food, so no, it's been good.
Yeah, no, nice. We'll come back to the IPL, etc. later on, but just to start with, I want to go right the way back to the start of your cricketing career. So you were born in Barrow-on-Furness in Cumbria. What did your early childhood memories of cricket look like? Were you born into sort of a sporting family that played cricket?
Not so much cricket. My family is very sporty. My dad and my brother played a lot of football, and my mum obviously enjoys her sport. So yeah, I played as much sport as I could. I spent very little time in my house as a kid. I always wanted to be out playing different sports. And I lived about 50 yards away from Barrow Cricket Club. So I spent a lot of time around there playing cricket. And I guess the earliest memories of cricket was playing cricket on the outfield at tea time. And I've got a brother who's 4 years older than me. And I guess he was trying to hang around with him and his mates when you're 5, 6, 7. It's obviously not easy when they're much bigger and stronger than you. So I guess that's probably set me up really well for later in life. So yeah, that's probably the earliest memories of my cricketing career was yeah, spending as much time as possible around at Barrow playing cricket. And we actually had a pro called Rawl Lewis who was from the West Indies, and basically he would stay out after training with me until it was literally pitch black, until we could do no more practice. And I was a leg spinner growing up, and he was a leg spinner as well. So yeah, that was pretty cool to have someone like him who wanted to spend so much time with me to make me a better cricketer at such a young age. Yeah, he was probably the guy that really spent time with me to make me into a cricketer that could probably go through the ranks and through academies and stuff. So yeah, they're probably the earliest memories that I have of cricket.
And did you play at school as well?
I did. I went to I went to a private school. Well, I went to a state school to start with, primary and junior school. That's right, isn't it? And we played quick cricket in that, and thankfully we had quite a decent team. And I vaguely remember we played at Durham's ground. We played at the Emirates Riverside in the finals of that. So I do remember sort of playing quick cricket all the way through there. And then when I went to senior school, I went to a private school, and there was only 25, 30 lads in my whole year. So we didn't really have the strongest cricket team. But I definitely played as much as I could. It was cool because I played for the first team when I was in year 7, year 8, which you probably don't get at many other schools. So yeah, I played a little bit of school cricket growing up, but it certainly wasn't as big as what other people have played. I know the lads that went to the big private schools obviously spend a lot of time playing school cricket.
And then alongside of that, were you already involved in the Lancashire setup as well?
I think I joined Lancashire at 14, 15 whilst I was still at school. The last couple of years at school, I remember it was every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. I think it must have been 15 when I joined the academy. So it was, yeah, I finished school at 5 to 4 and I had to be at Old Trafford indoor nets by 6 o'clock. So it was 5 to 4, leg it home from school, straight into the car. My pasta carbonara would be waiting in the car for me. Mum already made it. And yeah, it was down to Lancashire for 2 hours and then back home, and did that every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the winter. And then obviously in the summer played as much as I could, or I was able to do, and to get down and play. So yeah, I guess that's sort of something that you don't quite appreciate at the time, but obviously the sacrifice that your mum and dad have to put in to take you down, to do 2 hours there and back every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is obviously something that's not very easy. So I don't think you quite appreciate that until you start to grow older.
And then with the Lancashire setup, was it very similar to what it is now, or was it, quite different?
There's been a lot of personnel change, but yeah, it was just pretty much, I was 2 years on the academy, and I would say probably the biggest influence in my career is John Stanworth, who was the academy director at the time. I had a lot of ups and downs at that point in my career, of people saying that I was too reckless, I wasn't going to be good enough, I would never play first class cricket. And there was one person who always fought my battle, and that was John Stanworth. And he always said to me, don't worry about what other people say. You've got a natural talent that will take you a long way in cricket. Just trust me. I've seen a lot of players, and I certainly see something in you, and I'll be forever grateful for him for what he did for me. And certainly as as quite a tricky teenager. I think without him, I could have fallen away from cricket. I certainly got knocked down a few times by North of England coaches at youth level, which, I guess at 15, 16, it's probably not what you want to hear. At 28, it's a little bit easier for someone to knock you down. You don't really care. So I guess, having him around as the academy coach at the time was very cool, and he's certainly the biggest influence on my career I've probably ever had.
And with that, you mentioned there, you're a bit reckless. Did you sort of play the same way you play now? Quite aggressive, quite attacking.
Pretty much. I would get out playing stupid shots, and I once got told at 15 I would never ever play for England, or I'd never ever play first class cricket with my technique. So I guess one thing that's pretty cool is to prove them people wrong. That someone telling a 15-year-old that they ain't going to do something is it's not the greatest thing to be doing. So it's been nice to prove a few people wrong along the way, and I guess everybody learns differently. There's certain players that were so technically correct that didn't last very long in a professional game. So I guess it's just the way it is. Some people have opinions, and that's the problem with youth cricket at the moment, is your fate basically lies in someone's opinion of you at 14, 15, 16. So I really enjoyed the playing cricket as I was growing up. I wasn't the most consistent, but I was always told by Stanley that I had a real good natural ability, and it would take me a long way in cricket. So thankfully I had him stood by my side.
Yeah, no, excellent. You sort of made headlines in April 2015 as well for your club side at Nantwich, which you made 350 of 138 balls, including 38 fours and 27 sixes. Was that sort of just a see ball, hit ball day and everything was coming out the middle?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess it came about at a really good time, actually. I was just sort of on the edge of playing first team cricket, and I guess I hadn't really had the chance to prove what I could do, and this performance, although it was in club cricket, and I did get dropped a few times, it was probably something that sort of pushed my name into the reckoning for playing T20 cricket for Lancs. And thankfully Gilo gave me an opportunity to play that year, and it didn't go as well as I'd liked. I opened in the first couple of games and then dropped down the order. I didn't do great all year. I had a couple of glimpses of doing well, and I got first bowler in the final, but we won it. So I guess that's probably a pretty cool memory of my first full year in professional cricket. We won the T20 Blast. So, I guess that performance was something that sort of got my career started. It got me a foot in the door, and it's something I'm really grateful for. And Nantwich, I still go and watch them now. I'm still in their WhatsApp group. They're a great club. They're a very family orientated club. My mum and dad still go down and watch them, even though I'm not playing. And I guess that's the nice thing is when I did move away from Barrow, I wanted to go to a club that was very similar to Barrow, very family orientated, and somewhere that I wanted to feel welcome. So Nantwich was certainly that. And 10 years later, I'm still there. If I needed to play club cricket, I would go and play for Nantwich. So it's nice to sort of have that that sort of feel of a home club away from home. So yeah, like I said, it was I played 3 or 4 years at Nantwich, and they were great for me. It was probably where I learned how to play cricket properly. So yeah, but certainly that's memories stand out.
How did you find that step up from club to then obviously county?
Yeah, I guess club cricket to second team cricket isn't probably the biggest step up. I found that I'm not easy, but yeah, it wasn't as difficult as the next step up. I think second team to first team cricket is a real big step up. So I guess I did really well in second team cricket. I had a great record in second team cricket. We had a great team at the time. We had a lot of good youngsters coming through at Lancs, and we had some great pros that weren't playing in the first team that played a lot of second team cricket. So we won a lot of games. We had lads scoring hundreds. We had lads taking fifers, and I guess it was pretty cool to grow up alongside people that I played with for the years after and sort of went through into the first team with, which is obviously pretty cool to do.
Yeah, and then with that, you made your List A debut. So you touched on your T20 debut in the T20 finals. Your List A debut in the Royal London One Day Cup. You scored 91 off 88. Batting in the middle order this time. Was that something that you did in one day cricket and then T20 went up the top of the order?
Yeah, I think by that time I'd moved down the order in T20 cricket. But I do remember I wasn't going to play that day. I got told I wasn't playing. And then I think it was Ashwell Prince. Gilo was our head coach, and Ashwell Prince said that he wanted me to play. And 10 minutes later, about 5 minutes before the toss, it was actually, you are playing now, so go and get ready. So yeah, it was pretty cool to make my debut. And I actually remember the innings quite fondly. I remember I actually got out trying to ramp it, and Q ended it back to Darren Stevens, I think. So yeah, it was certainly a pretty cool moment to know that you can perform at first team level straight away. And I guess that's the biggest thing, no matter where you are in the world, whether you go to franchise cricket, from second team cricket to first team cricket into international cricket, you just want a performance to prove to people that you belong there. And then all of a sudden you're off and away. So thankfully that came for me in my first game, and I was off and away.
Yeah, and with that, you made your sort of first class debut as well against Nottinghamshire, scoring 70 off 124 balls. Pretty decent bowling attack for Notts that day. They had Jake Bull, Stuart Broad, Harry Gurney, Jackson Bird, the Aussie overseas, and then also Samit Patel. So that day you were batting at 7. How did you find the difference sort of from red ball to white ball?
At that time, I just had one game. I didn't know any different. I'd played league cricket growing up. Yeah, I didn't know any different. So yeah, I guess it was, I remember making my debut. I remember thinking, Jesus, this is a good attack. And I guess the years of playing second team cricket and the sort of confidence that you get in your skills sort of sets you up really well for when the debut comes around. And I remember it very fondly. And I had a really good first year in first class cricket. I think I ended averaging 60 or 70 in the first year, batting at 7. And I really enjoyed playing. I scored 200s. I remember I got my first 100 in my second game. And yeah, I guess from then on, you kind of feel like you belong in that environment, and all of a sudden, rather than having to prove yourself, you can go out and enjoy the game and start trying to win games for Lancashire. So, yeah, it was quite nice to. I think in most comps, I've had a score early on that's made me settle down and sort of made me feel like I belong in that environment. And that was certainly a day that I felt, you know what, I can play first class cricket and I can start winning games for Lancashire.
Yeah, you touched on it there, so I did make a few notes. You scored your maiden century against Somerset, finishing 108 not out, and then you actually also topped the batting average runs scored for Lancashire with 815 runs, which was quite incredible, like you said, in your first year, and also batting down at 7. It's not often someone that was batting sort of at 7 would get that amount of time or opportunity.
Yeah, and that was, I always get the mick taken out of me actually about my averages because I batted at 7 in my first year. But no, yeah, it was really, it was a nice introduction to first class cricket. Sometimes you came in against a second new ball, sometimes you came in against tired bowlers. So I guess that was the cool thing, is that I sort of gained loads of experience of different types of cricket and different times of the game. And that certainly set me up really well for, I think I moved up to 3 the year after. So yeah, I guess my first year in first class cricket went as well as I could have ever hoped for. And it was certainly something I really enjoyed doing. I really enjoyed my red ball cricket at the time. And yeah, thankfully it sort of got me underway with my career.
Yeah, and with that, so you did a winter in Perth as well, sort of the winter before that, your sort of debut season in the county championship. Who did you play for, and how was that experience as an overseas sort of pro?
Yeah, I played at Willerton in Perth. The experience, I loved Australia. I loved Perth. I made a really good friend out there who I ended up living with. And it was great. It's obviously been nice having gone back with the Scorches. But I actually played second team cricket. We had Jack Brooks as well at the time.
Right.
Willerton had him as well. So I actually ended up playing second team cricket and I did awful. I wasn't very good. And I was thinking, oh my God, I've come away to Australia. I've done terribly. I'm not going to play cricket when I get home. And I remember a phone call from Gilo and he was like, how's your winter been? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, not great. My cricket's not been great. And he went, well, yeah, no worries. You're going to bat at 7 for the first couple of games. We're going to give you an opportunity. We think you can do really well. And still to this day, I do owe Gilo a lot. He gave me so much opportunity in my early career, and he backed me 100%. And he sort of gave me that first step into being a professional cricketer, and he gave me that first step in my career of playing cricket. So yeah, I remember coming back thinking, oh no, I'm going to have another year of second team cricket, and then that'll be that. But thankfully, I got given an opportunity, and like I said, I was lucky enough to take it.
Yeah, and then you said there that you got that opportunity the next year to bat at 3. So in 2017, you were awarded with your county cap. You scored 803 runs this season, averaging 47.23. And then you were, like you said, batting at 3. How did you find that step up to batting at 3? And also talk to me a little bit about your maiden double century against Warwickshire. You scored 224. So obviously the step up to batting at 3 must have worked.
Yeah, I remember it really well. I always remember I did really well first 2 years and terribly in year 3.
I'll get onto that.
But yeah, it was a different challenge. Yeah, it was something that I was ready for. I'd spent a year at 7. I was full of confidence of being able to do a job. So yeah, it was really nice. It was nice to sort of make an impact at 3, and I felt like I belonged in the top order in first class cricket, and that was the nicest thing. That having been told as a 15-year-old kid you've got no chance of playing first class cricket, I now averaged 60 or 55 or 60 or something after 2 years of first class cricket. I think I could manage it. So yeah, it was. I have really fond memories of my early first class years. Yeah, they were really good to me. They got my career going. They got me into Lions cricket, and I guess my career went on from there. So yeah, I remember the double century at Old Trafford. I think the other set I got 168 or something against Somerset, which was probably one of the best innings I've played in my life. We got bowled out for 100 or something in the first innings, and we ended up being 160 behind on first innings lead, and we won the game. And that was my first game as captain. So that was where I got my county cap, and that's sort of the performance I remember as being, yeah, that's probably one of the best innings I've ever played. And to get a double 100 in the same year was pretty cool. So yeah, they were certainly my memories from that year.
Yeah, and then you were selected off the back of that year in England's T20 squad, which obviously doesn't quite replicate with the Red Bull stuff as well. But you were selected in the squad for the South Africa series, and you made your debut at Taunton. You made 16 off 18, batting at number 4. Did that sort of selection come as a surprise on the basis that it was back to white ball rather than red ball?
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready for it. I'm tried to make a few adjustments in my game 2 weeks prior to the first game, and basically it all came at the wrong time. And I just wasn't ready for it. And I say all the time that I'm so thankful of the experience that I had. It sort of gave me the kick up the backside that I needed, that I hadn't completed cricket yet. I needed to work really hard and go back and work on my game. And that sort of took me back to county cricket and the 3 or 4 years that followed before I got another go in 2021. So I remember it as being a very eye-opening experience and something that I'm really grateful for. It obviously didn't go the way I would have liked it to go, but it's certainly something I would never change. And I think it's probably made me into the cricketer and the person I am today.
Yeah, and then off the back of that, you were also called up to the Test squad. You had a really strong year with the Lions. So you were away with the Lions, had a really strong winter with them. And then you were called up to the Test squad for, I think it was a tour to New Zealand. And if I remember rightly, I think you actually did quite well in the warm-up games. I'm sure you got an 80 or something like that in one of the warm-up games.
Yeah, I think we were like 240 for 16 or something on the day, and I got 80 odd, and I thought there might have been a chance of playing. It was only a 2-test series. And the first test was when Trent Boult with a pink ball. I think he got a few wickets and ran through us. And then the second test, I thought I might have got an opportunity to play. It didn't work out. And yeah, that was probably the if I was ever going to have succeeded in Test cricket, that was certainly I was probably in the best place possible for me to have a good crack at it. But yeah, like I said, it didn't work out for me that way. And then ultimately the next couple of years didn't go as well as I would have liked. But it's certainly not something I look back on with regret. I really enjoyed that test tour, actually. It was a great experience for me, and it was certainly an eye-opener and something that sort of opened my eyes to the level of cricket that I had to be at. So yeah, it was nice to be selected on a test tour, and it certainly sort of opened my eyes to the environment of English cricket.
Yeah, and then you returned that for the next summer back home. Something that you've touched on, 2018. It must have been, your most challenging season probably to date. You were appointed club captain at Lancashire, and then unfortunately broke your hand in the early season against Yorkshire, and came out to bat actually with a short leg arm guard on, which there was pictures of that going around social media galore. Your form as well sort of dipped with a bat when you came back. Did you feel that was the added pressure of captaincy as well?
It wasn't the added pressure, it was just the added responsibility of all of a sudden you've got to look after 11 players, not just one. And I guess just things didn't quite go my way that year. And I found it really difficult to get the balance right of looking after others while still making sure I was progressing my own game and making sure that I was in the right place as a player, not so much as a captain. So it's certainly not something I regret. It was a great eye-opening experience for me. It probably didn't quite go the way I would have liked it to go. But yeah, it's not something I regret. I give it my all. It just didn't work out for me. And ultimately I made the decision to not carry on as captain. And I think it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because it sort of give me that freedom again to concentrate on my own game and start working on myself and making improvements that I needed to make. And thankfully since then, things have gone all right. And I've managed to sort of work my way back up to where I am today. So it obviously wasn't the most ideal year that I've ever had in my career, but it's certainly probably my biggest learning year. And I sort of matured very quickly during the stint as captain. So it's obviously not a great record. 1 year as captain, 1 relegation, but who knows, later in my career, hopefully I can right some wrongs.
Yeah, so you said there it's gone all right since then. It's gone probably better than all right. From there on in, you got more into sort of like the franchise cricket as well, being signed. Sort of your first franchise was Rajasthan Royals, which was quite impressive as your first franchise there in the IPL. That must have been an unbelievable experience going to the IPL in 2019.
Yeah, cool. I think my first one was Karachi Kings in the PSL just before it. So I had Karachi in the UAE, and then I went straight to Rajasthan in the IPL. So thankfully, going back to the PSL, my first game in franchise cricket, I opened with Baba, and I got 80 odd or 40 balls. And like I said before, I've always had like a score early on that sort of made me feel really comfortable. And that was certainly that in franchise cricket. And then I had a decent, I think I only played because Colin Munro he wasn't there. I think he missed the first game because he was away with New Zealand. So I literally had one game, and thankfully I got 80 or 40. And from there on, I think I dropped down to 3 or 4 and played the whole tournament. And to be able to play every game in your first franchise tournament was pretty cool. So that set me up really well going into the IPL. I went to the IPL knowing there was no chance of playing. We had Steve Smith, Jofra, Stokesy, and Joss. So that was cool. Just to be able to go to an IPL was probably one of the coolest things. But to have people that and we're all with the same agent as well, so we looked after. Well, they looked after me in my first sort of IPL, so it was pretty cool. And then even more so to get the opportunity to play a few games at the end of the season, because these lads had to go back to international cricket. So I remember playing 3 or 4 games, and in my first game, I got 40 odd off 20 and smacked a couple of sixes off Rashid Khan, and all of a sudden I felt like I could play in the IPL as well. So it was really nice to sort of experience that. You obviously grow up watching the IPL, thinking how cool it would be to play in it one day, and to get that opportunity. I remember we played a 5-over game at RCB against obviously Virat, AB, and one of our lads got a hat trick. I remember catching Virat at long on the middle ball of the hat trick, and it was just such a cool atmosphere that when Virat was smacking a few into the stands, it was so noisy, and you just don't get that anywhere else in the world. And obviously as a kid that really hadn't played too much domestic cricket, never mind franchise or international cricket, so I remember sort of being a little bit in awe of it all. So I have really fond memories of my first IPL. It was a lot spent in the bar having a drink with some of the best players in the world, trying to learn off them, and sitting next to them on the bus and just chatting and seeing what I could pick up off different people, and then trying to take that back into my own game when I got back for the county season.
Yeah, and that sounds an unbelievable experience. That sort of kicked you on as well. So then you went off to Cape Town Blitz, and then you went off to Perth Scorches after that. So Perth Scorches, obviously, you mentioned before, you did a stint out in Perth, and then you've come back and played for the Scorchers. In your first year, you scored 425 runs, again hitting 27 sixes along the way. What are your memories of that first tournament in comparison, to any other tournament you've played in?
Yeah, Big Bash is one of them tournaments. It's always on at a great time of year in England. You always used to get up around Christmas time and just dream of being in the sun while it's freezing outside. So I remember thinking how cool it would be to play in the Big Bash, and I really wanted to try and get that opportunity. And I remember getting a phone call saying Perth were interested, and I was on at my agent saying, please just get me a gig in the Big Bash. I really want to go and play in it. And thankfully Perth gave me the opportunity. And like you said, the first game didn't go too well for me. I ended up getting a duck with a stinking decision. Not that I like to blame umpires, but it was. And then I think I ended up getting 70 off 30 in the third game of the tournament against the Strikers in Adelaide. And smacked Rashid Khan for a few, and I think me and Josh Inglis put on 140 in 10 overs, and I guess that's sort of the moment where I sort of felt at home and felt like I could play in the Big Bash. So such a cool tournament, the way they build it up and the way they support it over there, especially Perth. They're a very they look after their own, and the stadium that they play in over at Optus is phenomenal. It's probably one of the best in the world. And it's a great pitch to bat on as well. So like I said, I've spent 2 years at Perth now. It's been a really, I guess it's probably been a place where I've been able to make a name for myself, and I guess that's something that will always be pretty cool for me. Is to, obviously this year I won't be going back. I'm going to have a bit of a break over Christmas and spend some time with family over Christmas and New Year, which I haven't done for 4 years. So it will be somewhere where hopefully in the next couple of years I'll be able to get back. I love playing in front of the Perth fans, and they certainly supported me really well. So it'll be cool one day to go back, and it sort of feels like home for me now. So like I said, it was a cool tournament. I love playing in the Big Bash, and especially for Perth.
Well, the following year as well, when you went back, you actually pretty much had the same sort of stats. I think you scored one more run, I think it was, from the previous year, and one more six or something like that. So it was really similar. I actually, when I was checking the stats, double checked that I checked the right years to make sure it was actually up. One other thing, that second year, you sort of made the rounds on social media again for the wrong reasons this time, when you got boxed 3 times in a row. Talk to me about that day.
Yeah, I still see that on social media now. I guess that's probably a technical fault for me, is losing my front leg too early. That opens up somewhere where you don't want to get hit. But yeah, I remember both years were very similar stats-wise, but the second year I had an awful first 6 or 7 games, and I got dropped first ball against Hobart in the 6th or 7th game, I think it was. And I ended up getting 50. I think me and Jace put on 100 chasing 130 or something, and that sort of got me going in the tournament. And from then on in, I played really well right the way through to the final. So I think of them 430 runs, I think about 400 of them came in the second half. So it was probably a bit of a career-changing tournament for me, of just knowing that sometimes you can go through bad stages, but don't sort of give up on it. And thankfully, I worked really hard the day before that Hobart game, and sometimes you create your own luck. So, I got dropped and didn't look back from there. So, the Big Bash, anything that goes on in the Big Bash actually goes quite well on social media. So there was a few big sixes and a couple of getting hit in the nuts, which made their way onto social media.
And then you returned for the English summer last summer, the 2020 summer. How was that? It was obviously a completely different year. It was the pandemic, delayed season. The county championship wasn't quite the county championship. It was the Bob Willis Trophy, etc. How did you find that? Obviously, your winter wasn't too affected because you were obviously in Perth.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about being over there. I was with 2 of my good mates as well. I had Jason Roy and Joe Clark with me. So that was pretty cool to live life as normal for a couple of months. The quarantine obviously wasn't the most exciting thing, having to spend 14 days in a hotel room. But yeah, I guess the county summer it just wasn't the same. Sport has to have fans. No matter what anyone says, sport is not the same without the fans. And ultimately, I remember going to finals day and thinking, this is actually quite awful that we're at one of the biggest days of the calendar year and there's no fans in here, and trying to recreate fan noise through speakers it just doesn't work. So I guess that sort of give us a little bit of appreciation of what we have for the following that we get and the supporters that come out to watch us. And ultimately, I remember watching football as well without fans, and it just never felt the same. It's an entertainment business, and you want to entertain people. And although you can do it on the screens, it's just it doesn't quite replicate what you can do in the stadiums and people watching you. So it was a very weird year. It was just so different, and something I hope that we never have to go through again.
Yeah, and in that same summer, obviously, there's some England series as well. You were included in the England 24-man one-day squad for the ODI series, and also the ODI series against South Africa, but didn't feature in either series. How was that? I've always think it must be quite tough having sort of not playing any cricket, because obviously you're not going to play much county cricket in that same period, to then having to almost hit the ground running when you might get a go.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult for me. I remember all the time sort of trying to leave the bubble to go and play for Lancs, but it was never possible because of the quarantine that we had to do before we go back into the bubble. So yeah, I guess the one good thing I'm really grateful for, without COVID, I don't think I'd have worked my way back into an England team. I think it got me back into the environment, and I think my bowling in the nets, I spent loads of time working on that, and I guess that sort of my batting has always kind of looked after itself, but I guess that bowling aspect of it probably made me a little bit more selectable to selectors. And yeah, I guess that's probably what got me back into the environment and given me the opportunity to show what I could do. And I don't think I would have got that without COVID. So it was frustrating for me because I didn't play any cricket. But it gave me time around that environment to show people what I could do and to sort of spend time in the environment. And it is a great environment to be a part of. It's led brilliantly by Morgs, and it's a great environment to go into it, to express yourself. People love performing in it, and it's such a free spirit environment that you're encouraged to do what you want to do and to go out and play with no fear, which suits me down to the ground. So yeah, I guess the experience of England of that summer was a lot of drinks carrying, a lot of time spent in a hotel room, and not much cricket played. But ultimately, I think if you fast forward a year, it was all worthwhile. So yeah, that was my sort of memory of it.
You mentioned on bowling there. So you said before you started out as a leggy. You also bowled offies for a period as well with no leggies, and now you sort of a mix of both. I think your Cricket Info profile says right arm off spin, right arm leg break.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just something to try and make myself a little bit different and try and make myself a little bit more selectable. And I think ultimately it worked. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time trying to work on it. Something I really enjoy. It's a real big challenge because I'm not quite as gifted with a ball as what I am with a bat. So yeah, it's something I really enjoy. It's obviously not my strongest skill, and that's fine. I can always rely on my batting. But I do enjoy the challenge of trying to get better as a bowler. And thankfully now it's sort of worked into a game where I do play as a batter, but especially for Lancs, I bowl most of my overs in T20 cricket. So yeah, it's nice to be able to sort of have that second string to your bow, especially if you can field as well.
And then with that sort of same winter, then just after the Big Bash, you got re-signed by Rajasthan Royals, having been released sort of the previous year. That must have been great to get one re-signed by the same side that sort of released you the year before, and two, this tournament I think starts this Sunday, so it must be pretty exciting now. You're obviously waiting to get out there.
Yeah, it was nice. I actually pulled out the IPL the year before to try and play some red ball cricket when COVID hit. So I was going to go back to Rajasthan the year before that, but I didn't, to try and prioritise red ball cricket, to try and play Test cricket. Ultimately, that didn't work out and didn't go very well for me because I missed out on the opportunity to play in the IPL after the season had finished. So, yeah, I guess we make decisions in life to, we make the right decision at the right time, but ultimately that was probably one of the wrong decisions I made. But yeah, to be then picked up again by Rajasthan in this auction was pretty cool. And it's nice to be coming back to somewhere familiar. It's nice to see familiar faces, you know everyone straight away, and you know the players, and we've pretty much got a similar squad. We've got a few different overseas this time round, but yeah, we've got a similar squad. So yeah, it's pretty cool to come back to the Royals. They've got a very loyal fan base. So yeah, like I said, hopefully this time I may get a little bit more opportunity to play, and hopefully I can showcase my skills.
No, definitely. I mean, on that, then this summer was your big breakthrough summer, particularly with England. You made your ODI debut against India. You came in and finished with 27 not out of 21 balls, and defeating India by 6 wickets. How did you find that sort of debut? It's been a long time coming. You've been in and around the ODI squads for years now.
Yeah, it was really nice to actually make my debut. It felt like I was ready. I felt like I was really comfortable in the environment. And I remember we lost 2 or 3 quick wickets. I think Johnny and Stokesy were smacking it everywhere. And I was thinking, brilliant, my debut, I'm not going to get a bat here. And then all of a sudden, we lost 2 or 3 quick wickets, and we were all strapping our pads on. So it was nice to go out, and although we weren't under loads of pressure, I think we needed 60 odd off 10 with 6 wickets left, but to be able to go in and finish it off in a role that I wasn't too familiar with either, batting in the middle order, was pretty cool. And I guess that was, even though it was only 27 not out, it sort of felt like I'd the improvements that I'd made and the experiences that I'd gained over the last couple of years had certainly helped me in that situation. So yeah, to make my debut and to make a little bit of a contribution to winning a game was nice.
Yeah, and then you made a further contribution in the next series you played in. So it was the T20 and the ODI squads for the Sri Lanka visit. You were both selected in both of those. You played in all 3 T20s, picking up your first international wicket as well in your first game. And you finished with 1 for 9 after 2 overs. You followed that up with a man of the match performance in game 2 with 29 not out to lead England to a series win. Again, how did you find sort of that middle order batting? So I think you were back in the middle order then rather than being back at the top.
Yeah, I'd played in the PSL and the Mzansi Super League in South Africa as a middle order player. So I'd gained that experience by traveling the world to play franchise cricket. And that's why we do it. We go away for months on end to try and experience these different situations and scenarios and different conditions. And thankfully, I'd sort of gained the experience to know how to bat in the middle, as well as still making sure that my skills were good enough to bat at the top as well. So I always knew that the opportunity for England was never going to come at the top. It was always going to be in the middle order. And thankfully, that second game, it wasn't an easy pitch. And I remember it was raining as well. And I think we needed a run of ball. And I remember batting with Billings for a little bit. And yeah, it was sort of old Liam would probably have tried to smack a few out of the ground and got out and got a little 12 off 6 balls or something, but I managed to see us home, and that was quite pleasing for me. And sort of, yeah, I guess that sort of people in that environment maybe saw a different side to me than what they'd seen before. So yeah, and like you said, I'd bowled a few overs as well, and that was really nice to be able to showcase the skills that I have with the ball as well. So no, it was a nice series for me to sort of work my way back into international cricket.
Yeah, and then the next series went even better against Pakistan. Obviously, this was the start of the 2 separate bubbles. So you were selected in the T20 bubble rather than the ODI bubble. And, you know, the T20s saw you playing some of your best cricket probably ever. In the first game, you scored the fastest T20 50 to start off with, off 17 balls. And then only went one better to score the fastest 100 of 42 balls. Just take me through that innings and that day.
Yeah, madness. It's probably something that I'll look back on as a career-changing moment when I finish cricket. But yeah, it was so cool. I just struck the ball really cleanly from ball 1, and yeah, I remember the atmosphere was unbelievable. It would have been nicer if we'd have won the game, but certainly to score my first international century was a very special day for me, and it's certainly something I'll look back on with very fond memories in years to come. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that series, actually. The Pakistanis were a great team. They are one of the best teams in the world at the moment, especially their bowling attack. They've got a lot of pace. So to have bbe able to perform against one of the best bowling attacks in the world was pretty satisfying for me.
And in that same series, you also, well, I think the debate's still on. Is it the biggest 6 ever? The one out of Headingley?
Yeah, Tom Curran seems to reckon he's hit a few bigger than that. But we'll wait and see. No, it was, yeah, I still get tagged in it every day on social media to this day now. So, yeah, there's certain things in your career that you'll look back on as things that were really cool at the time, and that's certainly one of them. So, no, it was really nice that day to have done that, and I guess it's sort of a bit of a career-changing thing, and I don't know, I guess it makes people stand up and take notice of different skills that people can do when you do things like that. So, no, it was really nice to do that, and to be able to, I guess even more so the third game when we were under pressure, we needed 12 off 7 or something, and to come in and hit my first ball for 6 was, yeah, I guess it showed where my cricket had got to and the level that I've got to, and to have carried that on during the 100 was really nice. Yeah,
and then you carried on that form into the newly formed 100 competition, which probably sort of plays straight into your hands. How do you how did you find sort of like the tweaking, well, rules, regulations, etc. in the format?
Thought it was really cool, actually. It sped the game up really nicely. There wasn't too much time to think, and even more so batting wise, it was have a look at a couple and then off you go. And playing under Mo was cool. He's such a good captain. He's very chilled out. We had a very chilled out environment. We had a lot of good young lads. We didn't really have any superstars, which was really good for us. And I thought we played really good cricket throughout the tournament. I probably thought we were the best team in the tournament. Throughout the group stage, and unfortunately finals cricket is all about how you perform on the day. It doesn't really reflect how you've performed throughout the series or throughout the group stages. So yeah, I think as a tournament, I thought the way they set out the rules and regs were very good. It was really enjoyable to play in, and I think as you've seen for the crowds, as the tournament went on, it went from strength to strength, and certainly the people that I spoke to loved watching it and loved being at the ground. So yeah, all in all, I thought it was a pretty successful tournament.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing you notice straight away is the crowd. There's never a spare seat. There's sort of that more of a buzz around it, I think, as well.
Yeah, it was, and there were so many kids there, and that's what we wanted. There was kids in shirts that, even more so, going around cities and stuff, you'd see people in Manchester original shirts, Birmingham Phoenix shirts, and that's ultimately what we want. We want to try and get kids involved in cricket like they do in football. And I guess seeing the crowds, especially as the tournament went on, there was younger and younger people there, and that's what we want to see: young girls and boys coming to watch cricket and wanting to play cricket. And I guess our job as professionals at the moment is trying to make cricket cool again for kids to play. And hopefully we took a step on that journey during the 100, and hopefully we've inspired a new generation to take up cricket. But yeah, like you said, it was a great tournament, and I know the lads really enjoyed playing in it, and I know a lot of people that came to watch really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, and then following the 100, you've obviously been selected in the T20 World Cup squad. Again, must be a huge honour and really exciting times ahead.
Yeah, very much so. I've got two big tournaments coming up out in the UAE. I guess the IPL is obviously the biggest franchise tournament in the world, and you can't get a bigger tournament than a World Cup either. So really exciting times ahead. And I guess if you're asked as a kid what do you want to do when you grow up, is probably play for England in a World Cup, whatever sport it is, whether it's football, cricket, whatever it is. So to get the opportunity to travel to a World Cup with England is going to be such a cool experience, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. And who knows? Hopefully we can be the holders of the World Cup in both formats.
And do you still have aspirations to play red ball cricket for England as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Test cricket is the pinnacle of our sport, and I think everybody knows that. And I certainly want to play Test cricket for England. Whether that happens or not, we'll never know. Who knows further down the line? But certainly have aspirations to still do it. And whether that happens or not, it doesn't. I'm not so hung up on it as what I was 3 or 4 years ago, because we can still have a pretty cool career traveling around the world, playing in some franchise tournaments and playing for England in white ball cricket. So it's certainly something I want to do. I'm not giving up red ball cricket anytime soon. I still find it the greatest challenge in our sport. And who knows, maybe I'll get some time in the future to work really hard on my red ball game and make another push for the Test squad.